Well, hey there. It's your old pal Keith from groups.com. And I'm trying to make this one brief. In my last video about Floppy and its drag drop behavior, where you can use Floppy's RAM list to drive a repeating group that you've selected, and it'll make the items in the repeating group drag and droppable, right? And then the last one, I also talked about a placeholder, but I didn't get around to the new shared drag group features. I guess they're labeled as drag group in Floppy. So I've modified my silly little project here a little bit more to add another repeating group of Sinatras that are down here. If you watched my previous video, I guess I sort of explained the Sinatras. It's just a fun thing to drag around. Anyway, I've got a palette full of my system Sinatras, where I've got, a bunch of things that I uploaded and I marked them as being system ones, so that, no one can go and delete them and stuff, and you've got a starting place. And what you can see is I can actually drag items from this group into the other one, and they become part of Floppy's RAM list. So let's just clear this out to show that this is true. So here's Floppy's RAM list plus placeholder. And then let's see, I'm not actually writing out the values for the system Sinatras, except that we are watching them with a Floppy expression watcher. So you can see we've got all our Sinatras in this group. And if I take one of these, let's take birthday party hat Sinatra, I can drag him into this group and he appears in that list. And so now you'll see that Floppy's RAM list plus placeholder has a new unique ID in it. I'm not writing out the name of this Sinatra. I'm writing out their unique IDs here. And that's the unique ID for birthday party hat Sinatra. I could take alien Sinatra and drag him into this group. And so to show you how this is, I'll show you how this is set up in just a second. And you can see in this group, I can drag these guys back and forth. Let's just make sure, yep, there are actually two Sinatras in Floppy's RAM list. There's a couple of other features here too. You'll notice that when I drag a Sinatra out into the other group, he actually stays in his original group. But you can have either behavior. You can have behaviors where you can drag and drop items between groups, or the behavior where you're dragging out a clone from the one group. And so let's go see how this is set up real quick. That only took that's just shy of 3 minutes. So, all right. That was pretty good, Keith. You're doing pretty well. So to set this up, you'll remember that I was showing you that we had, I think this is my original one. Yeah, here's my Sinatra gallery Floppy element. And so this is the hot pink one down here. If I scroll down to the drag drop settings, again, the first thing I do is I set the ID of the repeating group that I want to be draggable. In this case, it's this one. Am I clicking the group? And again, I expose its HTML ID attribute and just give it a unique ID here. So this one is called Sinatra's. All right. And by doing that, I've told Floppy that, hey, I'm going to take Floppy's RAM list or Floppy's RAM list plus placeholder, and I'm going to feed this repeating group called Sinatra's with that. Let's see. Let's go back to our settings here. So I set the ID of the group, right? And then you'll recall in other tutorials I've showed you that you can have a drag handle if you don't want the whole thing to be draggable. But in this case, we've added a drag handle to it. We'll talk about some of these other options real quick. But here's how you do the sharing. So you just give this repeating group another name. This is sort of like the name that we gave it here, Sinatra's. But what I do here is this is the drag group name. So as long as multiple repeating groups have the same drag group name, you can drag and drop items between them. So I called my group shared. And then in this other, my system Sinatra's repeating group, right? I've given it an ID attribute of Sinatra palette, and it is also part of the shared drag group. So if I click on this Floppy, the blue Floppy here is driving the system Sinatra's, okay? And so what I do is I set the ID of the repeating group to make draggable to be Sinatra palette, And then in my drag group names, I just also give that the name shared. So now the blue one is using drag group name shared, and the pink one is using drag group name shared. And now we can drag and drop items between them. Let's get Supermodel Sinatra in here. Who else? How about Insectoid Sinatra? Okay, so simple enough, right? Now, there are some advanced options here. So let's go to the blue one. So underneath the drag group name, we've got some options for the drag group behavior. So the first one I've got here is called clone. And so clone not move, if we set that to yes, it means that we can drag an item out of the group, but the item will still be available in the original group, right? So we're making a copy and we're throwing it up into here. So just like let's remove Supermodel Sinatra and we'll put her back in there. So you can see that she got donated to the group, but remains in the system palette. The other option that I have set is that you can't actually move these guys around. They stay in the same order. So you see if I try to drag Supermodel Sinatra inside of this group, she just returns, is she a she or a he? We're not sure. We don't know their pronouns, so we should just call them them. So they stay in the original position in the list, okay? So that's let's see, that's this option, revert clone. So we talked about cloning, and then revert clone means that the item will just return to its original position in the repeating group. There's a third option that I've turned on here called prohibit add. And if we prohibit add, a repeating group can donate items to another group, but it can't accept items. So that behavior is this that we're seeing. So you'll note that, she's already in the list. They are already in the list, but Supermodel Sinatra, we can't add them into here. And so you'll see that the little draggable icon, it actually never even moves these guys because it won't accept a drop at all. So when I drag this out and attempt to drop it here, it's as if I didn't do anything at all. So, this group can donate items, but this group cannot donate items back to the system palette. So that's like a common thing that you might have, right? So there you go. But if we turned all these off, let's turn off prohibit add. We'll change it to no, or we can just clear it out. Let's reload our page. We're gonna have to reload our page. How are we doing on time here? 7 minutes, 52 seconds. Pretty good, pretty fast. Although loading of this page is not fast today, is it? We're in development mode here and nothing is cached and yada yada. And I don't know, I think Bubble just sort of hates me some days. Okay, so when we reload the page, we actually go back to this kind of default view I have. So we turned this in. See, look, we made it so I could donate items. So we turned off prohibit add, or ADD, for this group, prohibit add. And then now I can actually drag Sinatra's from there to here, which is, a little bit weird, right? Because it's like, well, I already had those Sinatras in there. Now, if you also wanted to make the behavior of your drag drop groups like Bubble, right? So in Bubble, typically a list will not have duplicate items in it. We can, instead of doing prohibit add, which would keep us from adding anything to the group, we could just say, hey, I just want to prevent duplicates from being added to the group. Keep in mind that Floppy's RAM list does support duplicates, and you probably noticed that in the various workflow actions for Floppy, you can either defeat that behavior or not, at the individual action level. But in this case, right, since we're not using action, it's just these items are automatically being added or removed from or added or removed or being reordered in Floppy's RAM list. If we wanted to make sure that we got bubble-like behavior and couldn't add duplicates, we could turn that on here. So that's prohibit add duplicates. We'll turn this on to yes. And now you'll see, this is basically going to be the same behavior as if I had prohibit add. So actually, before I reload that, what I should probably do is let's say that we prohibit add duplicates to our system Sinatras, but will allow duplicates in our Sinatra gallery repeating group, right? So let's see. Pink one is the Sinatra gallery. And let's see, I'm not sure what its settings are right now. So it's drag group shared. Oh, see, it has all of these options off. Let's prohibit add. Let's prohibit add duplicates to the gallery. So this is me saying, okay, you can have Sinatras in there, but you can't have two of the same Sinatra. But I mean, what if you wanted all supermodel Sinatra? 1 second while this reloads. All right. And now what we will find, I'm going to clear this list just so we can see the behavior. We'll clear the list here. And so I can drag items to the Sinatra gallery, but I can't add two of the same items. So we just added Alien Sinatra here. Let's try to add Alien Sinatra again, and you'll see that it just refuses. It looks like you can do the drop. I can't turn it off at this point, but you'll see that it will not accept it. So we can only add unique Sinatras to our gallery. All right, let's go back and turn that off because I want to be able to clear. I want to be able to drag Sinatras. But there you go. So setting up donation of items and receiving items between repeating groups can be accomplished just by giving them the same drag group name in Floppy. Now, if I got this wrong, so this is Floppy A Sinatra Gallery. Let's say that I had some other repeating group, and I wanted to make that one shared. I could just say it's my other drag group. And what'll happen now, because this drag, there are no two floppies on the page or multiple floppies on the page that have the same drag group name. What's going to happen in this case, of course, is that, you've already guessed, we will not be able to drag items between the groups. We will be able to sort items inside of each group, but neither one will be able to donate to each other. Let's see how that works. Loading, loading, loading. All right, let's see here. So you see I can move my Sinatras around here, and here I can't move them around because I set the revert clone option to yes there. But you'll note that if I try to drag the Sinatra to the other group, it won't be accepted. And the same thing here. If I try to drag this one to this group, she shouldn't have been accepted. That might be a little bug. And I took a little pause there because I was like, is that a bug or not? So actually, it seems like I may be misunderstanding the behavior of sortable here, to be honest. I will look into this more, but what I just did is I set this guy to have a drag drop group of shared, and then let's see, he will accept items. So I guess in that case, even if you don't have the same name, like this drag group, the gallery is driven by the pink one, has no drag group name. But if this one has a drag group name shared and we allow it to add items, it will accept, or it can accept items from the list, and we're not prohibiting duplicates in this case. But if this guy isn't shared, I cannot drag items into them. So then what happens if we go and if we give the pink one a drag group name that's different? I guess this option must be for when you have like 3 or something. So let's make this drag group, we'll call it not shared. All right, so this one is not shared, and the system one is called shared, and I think they're going to be able to donate items to each other. I'm not sure if that's a bug with me or with sortable, but I kind of feel like it's sortable from the quick look that I took when I went off camera. We'll just reload this page again. perhaps giving something a drag name at all just makes it, or giving it a drag group name at all makes it shared. I'm not sure. So yeah. So this one, they can both accept items from each other. That might not be desirable behavior, but I'm not sure if I can fix that. Anyway, I don't think that that's a really huge issue, because this will work in like most contexts. But the idea is that perhaps we could have 3 repeating groups, and you know, 2 of them would be in one group and 1 of them would be in another, or something like that. I guess we'd have to go to 4 groups, or actually like 4 elements, to even test that. So anyway, that's how you set up shared drag dropping and some of the options. Let's turn our options back to how we had them originally. So let's see. This one is group shared. This one should be group shared. I will look at that as a potential bug. Let's see. The Sinatra gallery should accept everything, right? And then the system one should be clone, not move. We'll set it to revert clone so that they stay in the same order, and we will prohibit add. Let's see. Did I actually demonstrate prohibit add duplicates? Let's change the receiving group, the Sinatra gallery, to have, let's see, the prohibit add duplicates feature on. I guess I did demo that, but let's turn it back to that way. Because I think that's, you know, in my fake app here, that might be the behavior I want. I want it so that you can only have a unique Sinatra in each group. I did a bunch of other little funny things to this, like I set up a concept of galleries and stuff like that. This is not really intended to be a tutorial about that sort of stuff. Let's see. Let's clear my list. But you can inspect this project and you'll see some of those other kind of fun tips. Let's see. We'll drag an alien in here, and let's try to drag a second alien. Yep. He prohibits add duplicates. And then, of course, we can't move Movie Star Sinatra back into here because we have prohibited add entirely in our System Sinatra's palette. So there you go. That's the shared drag drop stuff in Floppy. One other thing is you do get events for all this. So like while the RAM list like updates automatically, and you in most contexts, like, won't be concerned that that happened. I mean, it just happens. There are events that get generated, and in the previous versions of the Floppy, when all you could do was move items within a group, there was a single triggered event that was just called a drag drop moved or something. Let's go look at those. Let's set up a workflow so we can see them. Let's see here, elements. So I can trigger on, you'll see we have all these different Floppy things. Let's find it. I wish you could type in here. It's kind of sucks that you can't type in here. We have these drag events. They're down below the sync triggers. Here we go. So we have a Floppy added RAM list via user drag drop. So that happens if someone drags something from one shared group to another. We've got an event for a Floppy removed RAM list via user drag drop. That happens if an item is dragged out of a repeating group to somewhere else. And then we've got a Floppy sorted RAM list via user drag drop. And so that is the event when things are moved around within the same repeating group. So you can trigger off of any of those things if you need to take additional actions. Note that if a drag drop like isn't completed or isn't allowed, like you won't get one of these events. They only trigger when an action actually happens. So, for example, if I pick up female movie star Sinatra and move her around, if I don't drag drop her to another position, we don't get an event that tells us that. Partly, I guess we could do that, I think, but I don't think that's very useful. Like you only want to know what changed. You don't want to know what didn't change, right? So that's a little look at the events. There you go. Have fun dragging and dropping Sinatras or whatever else you want to drag and drop. And it looks like I maybe have a potential bug to look into. I'm not sure if that's a bug or not. But enjoy Floppy. And that's it for now. I've got other things to make videos about. Bye-bye.